Greek gods are the deities of ancient Greek religion, which was practiced from around the 1000 to 100th of BC to the 4th century CE. The Greeks believed that their gods lived on Mount Olympus, and each god had a specific domain over which they ruled. Zeus, god of thunder and the sky, king of the gods. Zeus was the king of the gods in Greek mythology and was considered to be the most powerful of all the gods. He was the son of Cronus and Rhea, and was often depicted as a tall, muscular man with a beard and lightning bolt in his hand. Zeus was the god of the sky, hell, lightning, thunder, and storms. He was also associated with law and order, and was the protector of hospitality, guests, and travelers. Zeus was often depicted as a wise and just ruler, but could also be temperamental and vengeful. Zeus had many love affairs with both mortals and other gods, and fathered many children, including Apollo, Artemis, Athena, and Hercules. In Greek mythology, Zeus played a major role in many stories, including the Titanomachy, the war between the Titans and the Olympian gods, and the story of Prometheus, who was punished by Zeus for giving fire to humans. Overall, Zeus was one of the most important and revered gods in ancient Greek religion, and his influence can still be seen in modern culture today. Poseidon. Poseidon, god of the sea and earthquakes. Poseidon was the god of the sea, earthquakes, and horses in Greek mythology. He was one of the 12 Olympian gods, and was the brother of Zeus and Hades. Poseidon was often depicted as a muscular man, with a beard, carrying a trident which was his symbol. He was considered to be a powerful and tempestuous god, and was known to be vengeful towards those who crossed him. Poseidon played a major role in many stories, such as the story of the creation of the world and the struggle for Athens between himself and Athena. He was also known for his love affairs with both mortals and other gods, and fathered many children, including the giant Polyphemus and the hero Theseus. Poseidon was worshipped by seafarers who believed he could control the sea and protect them from danger. He was also associated with horses, which were considered to be sacred to him. Overall, Poseidon was a powerful and important god in Greek mythology, and his influence can still be seen in modern culture today. Hades. Hades, god of the underworld. Hades was the god of the underworld and the dead in Greek mythology. He was the brother of Zeus and Poseidon, and was one of the 12 Olympian gods. Hades was often depicted as a stern and fearsome figure, with a helmet that made him invisible and a chariot drawn by black horses. He was responsible for guarding the gates of the underworld and overseeing the souls of the dead. In Greek mythology, Hades played a major role in many stories, such as the abduction of Persephone, the daughter of Demeter, and the story of Orpheus and Eurydice. Hades was also known for his wealth, as the underworld was said to be filled with treasures and riches. Despite his ominous reputation, Hades was not considered to be evil or malevolent. He was simply fulfilling his role as the ruler of the underworld and the dead. However, His domain was considered to be a place of darkness and gloom, and those who entered it were believed to be cut off from the living world forever. Overall, Hades was an important and complex figure in Greek mythology, and his influence can still be seen in modern culture today. Athena. Athena, goddess of wisdom, war, and crafts. Athena was the goddess of wisdom, war, and crafts in Greek mythology. She was one of the 12 Olympian gods and was considered to be one of the most important and powerful of all the gods. Athena was often depicted as a wise and strategic warrior, wearing a helmet and carrying a shield and spear. She was also associated with the owl, which was considered to be a symbol of wisdom. In Greek mythology, Athena played a major role in many stories, such as the story of the Trojan War, where she supported the Greeks and helped them to victory. She was also known for her role as the protector of Athens, and was said to have given the city its name after winning a competition against Poseidon. Athena was also associated with crafts and was said to have taught humans how to weave and make pottery. She was considered to be a patron of the arts and was often depicted as a muse to poets and musicians. Overall, Athena was an important and multifaceted goddess in Greek mythology, and her influence can still be seen in modern culture today. She was revered for her wisdom, courage, and creativity, and was seen as a role model for both men and women. Apollo. Apollo, god of music, poetry, prophecy, and healing. Apollo was the son of Zeus and Leto, and the twin brother of Artemis. He was born on the island of Delos, which is why he is also known as Delian Apollo. Apollo was considered the god of music, poetry, prophecy, healing, and the sun. He was also associated with archery, medicine, and truth. Apollo was often depicted as a handsome young man, with long hair and a laurel wreath on his head. He was a skilled musician who played the lyre and was often accompanied by the Muses, who were the goddesses of inspiration. Apollo was also associated with the sun, and it was believed that he drove his chariot across the sky every day, bringing light and warmth to the world. Apollo was a complex and multifaceted god, and his personality could be both benevolent and malevolent. He was sometimes portrayed as a protector of the innocent and a bringer of justice, but he could also be vengeful and cruel, especially to those who dared to challenge him. One of the most famous stories about Apollo in Greek mythology is the tale of Apollo and Daphne. According to the story, Apollo fell in love with Daphne, a nymph who was the daughter of the river god Peneus. However, Daphne did not return Apollo's affections and instead asked her father to help her escape. Peneus turned Daphne into a laurel tree, and Apollo was left with nothing but the laurel wreath on his head as a reminder of his lost love. Artemis. Artemis, goddess of the hunt, the moon, and childbirth. Artemis was the daughter of Zeus and Leto, and the twin sister of Apollo. She was the goddess of the hunt, wilderness, childbirth, virginity, and young women. Artemis was often depicted as a beautiful young woman with a bow and arrows hunting in the woods. She was also associated with the moon, and it was believed that she could control its phases. Artemis was a virgin goddess, and she was known for her fierce and independent spirit. She was often accompanied by a group of young women known as the huntresses of Artemis, who were also virgins and dedicated to her service. Artemis was a complex and multifaceted goddess, and her personality could be both benevolent and vengeful. She was sometimes portrayed as a protector of young women and a defender of the innocent, but she could also be cruel and ruthless, especially to those who dared to challenge her or harm her sacred animals. One of the most famous stories about Artemis in Greek mythology is the tale of Actaeon. According to the story, Actaeon was a young hunter who stumbled upon Artemis bathing in a stream. Artemis was furious at his intrusion and turned him into a stag. Actaeon was then hunted and killed by his own hounds, who no longer recognized him. This story is often interpreted as a warning against the dangers of violating the privacy of the gods and goddesses. Ares was the son of Zeus and Hera, and he was often portrayed as a handsome young man. With a beard and a helmet, he was known for his fierce and aggressive personality, and he was considered one of the most violent and unpredictable of all the gods. Ares was the god of war and conflict, and he was often depicted as a warrior who fought alongside mortals in battle. He was also associated with courage and strength, and he was sometimes invoked by soldiers before going into battle. Ares was a controversial figure in Greek mythology, and his personality could be both admirable and repulsive. He was sometimes portrayed as a brave and loyal ally, but he could also be cruel, brutal, and impulsive, causing chaos and destruction wherever he went. One of the most famous stories about Ares in Greek mythology is the tale of his affair with Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty. According to the story, Ares and Aphrodite were caught in bed together by her husband Hephaestus, the god of metalworking and craftsmanship. Hephaestus then trapped them in a magical net and called upon the other gods to witness their shame. This story is often interpreted as a warning against the dangers of passion and infidelity. Overall, Ares is a complex and multifaceted figure in Greek mythology, and his portrayal varies depending on the source and the context. Aphrodite was the goddess of love, beauty, pleasure, and procreation. She was believed to have been born from the sea foam and was often depicted as a beautiful young woman with a seductive and alluring personality. Her beauty was said to be so powerful that it could bring mortals and gods alike to their knees. Aphrodite was often associated with love and desire, and she was known for her romantic affairs with both gods and mortals. She was married to Hephaestus, the god of metalworking and craftsmanship, but she had numerous affairs with other gods, such as Ares, the god of war, and Hermes, the messenger of God. Aphrodite was a complex and multifaceted goddess, and her personality could be both benevolent and malevolent. She was sometimes portrayed as a protector of women and a bringer of joy and happiness, but she could also be vengeful and cruel, especially to those who dared to challenge her or insult her. One of the most famous stories about Aphrodite in Greek mythology is the tale of her role in the Trojan War. According to the story, Aphrodite promised Paris, a prince of Troy, the love of the most beautiful woman in the world if he chose her as the winner of a beauty contest among the goddesses. Paris chose Aphrodite, and she helped him win the heart of Helen of Sparta, which led to the Trojan War. This story is often interpreted as a warning against the dangers of beauty and desire. Demeter. Demeter was the daughter of Cronus and Rhea, and the sister of Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, Hera, and Hestia. She was often depicted as a mature woman with a wreath of wheat on her head, carrying a bundle of grain, a torch, or a scepter. Demeter was the daughter of Cronus and Rhea, and the sister of Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, Hera, and Hestia. She was often depicted as a mature woman with a wreath of wheat on her head, carrying a bundle of grain, a torch, or a scepter. Demeter was the goddess of agriculture and harvest, and she was responsible for the growth and fertility of crops. She was also associated with the seasons, and it was believed that her mood and behavior could affect the weather and the fertility of the earth. Demeter was a nurturing and protective goddess, and she was known for her close relationship with her daughter, Persephone. According to the story, Persephone was abducted by Hades, the god of the underworld, and taken to the underworld to be his wife. Demeter was so devastated by the loss of her daughter that she caused a great famine and refused to let anything grow until Persephone was returned to her. Eventually, Zeus intervened and arranged for Persephone to spend part of the year with Hades and part of the year with Demeter, which explained the cycle of the seasons. Overall, Demeter is a compassionate and powerful figure in Greek mythology, and her portrayal emphasizes the importance of nature, agriculture, and the cycle of life and death. Hermes. Hermes was the son of Zeus and Maia, and he was often depicted as a young man with a winged hat and sandals, a staff, and a winged purse or pouch. He was known for his speed, agility, and cunning, and he was considered one of the most versatile and adaptable of all the gods. Hermes was the god of commerce and trade, and he was responsible for overseeing the exchange of goods and messages between mortals and gods. He was also associated with travel and hospitality, and he was often invoked by travelers and merchants for protection and guidance. Hermes was a mischievous and playful god, and he was known for his wit and humor. He was also a skilled thief and trickster, and he was sometimes portrayed as a protector of thieves and outcasts. One of the most famous stories about Hermes in Greek mythology is the tale of his role in the birth of Apollo. According to the story, Hermes was tasked with stealing Apollo from his mother Leto and delivering him to the other gods. Hermes accomplished this by disguising himself as an old man and distracting the dragon that was guarding Leto. This story is often interpreted as a warning against the dangers of jealousy and competition. Overall, Hermes is a complex and multifaceted god in Greek mythology, and his portrayal varies depending on the source and the context. However, his role as a messenger and mediator between mortals and gods, as well as his association with commerce and travel, make him an important and influential figure in Greek mythology.